Bill, you almost fall?
Dude.
I want you to stand as we worship. We had a great Sunday school. We are looking forward to worshiping today. So let's sing. I love to sing your praise, Lord. I love the sound of your name. Fill me with peace, washes over me like a sweet gentle rain. I love to sing your praise, Lord. It brings me victory. No matter what I face, through all of my days, I love to sing your praise. There's a place inside my heart where a song, Thanksgiving starts because of all of your goodness and the joy you give. Now I will let my song fill the air. Yes, I'll sing it everywhere. Oh, my grateful crescendo every day that I live. I love to sing your praise, Lord. I love the sound of your name. It fills me with peace, washes over me like a sweet gentle rain. I love to sing your praise, Lord. It brings me victory. No matter what I face, through all of my days, I love to sing your praise. Lord, I love to see your shine when you paint a glorious sunrise. I love the dew in the morning and hearing songbirds sing. But there is nothing sweeter to me than the joy and harmony with all my brothers and sisters, singing praise to the King. I love to sing your praise, Lord. I love the sound of your name. It fills me with peace, washes over me like a sweet gentle rain. Love to sing your praise, Lord. It brings me victory. No matter what I face, through all of my days, I love to sing your praise. I love to sing your praise, Lord. I love the sound of your name. It fills me with peace, washes over me like a sweet gentle rain. I love to sing your praise, Lord. It brings me victory. No matter what I face, through all of my days, I love to sing your praise. I love to sing your praise, Lord. I love the sound of your name. It fills me with peace, washes over me like a sweet gentle rain. I love to sing your praise, Lord. It brings me victory. No matter what I face, through all of my days, I love to sing your praise. No matter what I face, through all of my days, I love to sing your praise. Amen. Thank you. You can be seated.
I'll go get my microphone in just a minute.
I'm gonna find
We had a great week at Bible school, and it was just really a lot of fun. And we hope you will be praying for the results of that as we follow. I don't have my microphone on, Bill.
Oh, sorry.
I'll
Okay.
come get it in just a minute.
Okay.
I got busy visiting when I first came in. Anyway, just a great VBS. I don't remember the total amount we had enrolled. It was close to 40, wasn't it? Close to 40, an average attendance of about 32 or 35 or so. But we had a great school. Also want to encourage you tonight. Now, when we planned the concert tonight, We had no idea that half the church would be gone. We didn't know. We just planned it on a date we thought was fit. So here's what I want you to do. If you don't normally come back on Sunday night, when we don't normally have Sunday night, but if you don't normally come on a Sunday night, I want you to suck it up, Buttercup, and come. Okay? You can just do that. You can. We need some bodies here for the concert. We're going to take a love offering for them, and they are a blessing. They have been booked to sing in a... I just heard from a church member who's not feeling well today. Anyway, but what I want you to do with your phone is I want you to set your alarm so you'd be up at 5. And yes, it's off, isn't it? I mean, Don sending me a text, your phone off. Set your alarm for 5 o'clock. Get up, get you something to snack on. Come, bring your watermelon with you. If you want to cut it up before you come, fine. That's what I'm going to do. Bring your watermelon with you. And if you're real lazy, Publix will already cut it for you. Okay, so you can go there and get it. But come at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a wonderful time, and we're going to have fellowship, and it's just going to be a sweet, wonderful time, and we hope you'll come. If you haven't given to help pay for the new HVAC unit that's in, remember the total cost was $4,435. We've already paid out a bunch, which took a chunk out of our budget, and so far about $700 has been given, and we want to encourage you to continue doing that because that $700 is now paid the 1 month of the payment plus some. So we encourage you because every dollar we take from that means money we don't have to take out of an already strapped budget that doesn't have any money budgeted for that in the first place. So, and those of you who are on the nominating committee and who are on the finance committee and who are on the church council, you will be receiving the card in the mail sometime this week telling you when your first meeting is to get ready for the new year. Nominating committee has jobs to do. Stewardship committee has to prepare the budget. Church council has to prepare the calendar. And you'll be getting your email when that's happening. And then you'll be called and told when you can help me move, which is coming sometime between now and August the 15th. Isn't that right, Terry? We just don't know where you're moving to yet. Keep it up, buddy. Just remember your funeral, I get the last word. Okay? Just remember, Dorothy, at his funeral, I get the last word. Okay? Anyway, come tonight, have a great time. It's going to be a fun time, and you will not be sorry you came. All right? Now, stand up, greet one another, hug a neck, and we'll come back and worship in just a minute.
There's a long black train coming down the line, beating all the souls that are lost and crying. Rather sin only evil remains. Watch out, brother, for that long black train.
to see a little lady in Washington, New Jersey. She was a member of a Ministerial Alliance church there, and about 15 or 20 years before, the president of Toccoa Falls College had preached in that church and encouraged the members to send, I don't know what it was, $25 a month to the college to help support a student. And this woman began doing that. She'd never been to Georgia, never been on the campus. She sent it every month like clockwork. And by this time it was $60 a month. And I decided I was near there, and she was not a massive donor. Okay, $60 a month doesn't make you the #1 donor. But I decided I was near her, and I was going to go see her. And I went. And we had a wonderful, wonderful visit. And as I was leaving, she still had her apron, okay? And as I was leaving, she reached into her pocket, front pocket of her apron, and pulled out an envelope, and she said, "For the college." And I put a little extra in there since she came to see me. You know, it's that kind of giving that encourages us, that kind of giving that makes a difference. And I'm encouraged by your faithful giving. Let's thank the Lord for that. Father, thank you for the offering today. Thank you, Lord, that you allow us to give. Thank you for the blessings that you give to us for doing so. Thank you that it is multiplied and used all over the world. Father, some of this money is going to find its way to a missionary in Iraq, or a church planter in New York City, or a gospel preacher somewhere in the backwaters of Canada. It's going to find its way all over the world. Some of it's going to be used here. Some of it's going to feed a hungry child. Some of it's going to do great things. So, Father, we thank you for the privilege of giving. May you bless it and use it. In Jesus' name.
Everyone needs forgiveness.
worship song this morning that we've done it once or twice before, but I want you just to worship with us for just a minute. I'm hoping that you can feel, just as I do, God's presence in this house today. So we want you to worship. I'm going to let you remain seated, but I want you to sing with us where you can as you learn this song. This is a beautiful song. God's presence in his house today. He's in this place. His presence manifested as we offer up our praise. Worship we draw near. His glory then appears. I know he's here. I can see
tell me that they don't understand why we had to go. Am I on?
I think you got yourself muted.
Now we go. All right. Whenever I hear someone say they didn't know why we had to go into Iraq in the first place, it just went off again. Are we back?
Yes, keep going.
All right. I hate microphones. Thank you. I wonder if they understood why we had to go into France during World War II. And you question why the killing in Iraq continues because, I mean, we got rid of one of the most ugly, evil dictators that's ever existed. In 1997, there were 109 Jews left in Iraq from a community dating back to 6 BC, the 6th century BC, 600 years before the birth of Christ. Those were the remnants of the people taken into exile that did not return to Jerusalem. Today, only 8 of those remain. Prior to the fall of Saddam Hussein, there were over 700,000 Christians in the nation of Iraq. He mostly left them alone, unless he needed a whipping boy, he'd go round up 10 or 20 of them and kill them. But he mostly left them alone. Just before the invasion, a number of them fled. But in 2007, an American officer in charge of the area where most of the Christians live reported that 500 Christians per month were being rounded up by Islamic militants and shot or killed. At last count, there were only 55,000 believers left in the nation. And don't think there hadn't been a lot of prayer for those folks. Voice of the Martyrs are all the time encouraging us to pray. We have missionaries that are in and out of there. They're not, I don't think they live there all the time because they can't, but they're in and out encouraging the churches that are left and helping them on a regular basis, and of course taking their lives into their hands to do that. And don't think the killing just goes there between Sunni and Shiite that kill each other. And they basically believe the same thing. They just disagree on how it should all be run. And you look at them and go, excuse me? And so they kill each other. And we look at some of this stupidity going on in the world and we think, God, why don't you do something? If you're all powerful, how about a little demonstration? A few weeks ago in Atlanta, an argument broke out at a party that was happening, or a picnic was happening in a park near a subdivision. And 2 guys got into this argument and they pulled out guns and started shooting at each other. Of course, none of them either had any training, thank God, and they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but one of the bullets went wild, went through the window of a house and killed a 7-year-old girl. James Hodgkinson shows up at a Republican baseball practice with the set purpose of killing Republican congressmen. If it were not for 2 Capitol police officers charged with guarding one of these guys who was in line for the presidency, he would have succeeded. And we can all remember Columbine and Virginia Tech, the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, Sandy Hook Elementary School, and if you remember, right after that, it's exactly like the Garden of Eden. Something like that happens and the blame game begins. We want to blame gun control laws are not strong enough. And I don't remember the article now, but over the holiday, July 4th holiday weekend in Chicago, Illinois, the strongest gun control laws in the country. I think there were 200 people shot and killed and about 600 wounded by bullets in that area. So, you know, gun control law. Then they want to blame talk radio. Whoever's president gets the blame. Like, you know, it's his responsibility to watch over everybody. Poverty. We want to blame poverty. We want to blame religion. They blame all kinds of things, but with no real solutions. They don't have anything to do but point fingers, and they never understand that nothing is going to change until the grace of God is applied in Christ. But then we wonder when we see somebody innocent like those children killed, and we think, God, why don't you do something? Who among us has not had a family or friend touched by cancer? I got to tell you, cancer is the most excellent example of sin I have ever seen. sometimes, if you smoke for 50 years, or you drink alcohol like a fish, or whatever, you might not want to question why you got cancer, because that's a given. But sometimes you just be bopping along. You hadn't eaten any of those things, you haven't done any of those things, and you get it. Part of living in a fallen world. Who among us have not prayed at the bedside of a loved one saying, God, please save them? Please. I don't know about you, but I prayed by next to my son's bed more times than I could count. Lord, if somebody's got to die from this, let it be me. Knowing full well that he had the authority and the power to heal David or to transfer the cancer to me. I always love TV preachers that get up and say, well, if you'll just do this, this, and this, you'll be healed. I'm going like, yeah, no. And at church, and forgive me, but we pray and we do the right things. We give, we invite, we worship, we trust God. We do everything we're supposed to do that we know to do, and we trust God, and yet the seats don't fill up. Our church continues to struggle, and we can't seem to get off the plateau. God, why don't you do something? Well, here's the thing. Prayer is not about bartering or bargaining with God or haggling for the best deal. A day worth of piety for healing on this side, or a day worth of Bible school on this side, and if you come back tonight, you'll get extra blessings. I'm not telling you won't, but I'm not saying that you will. Prayer at its heart is about becoming like the crucified and risen Christ, and sometimes that's like wind carving stone, and that takes a while. I had no idea that we would be using this passage in Bible school when I planned this sermon almost 3 months ago. I think it's neat that it was, so I want to invite you to turn to 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 9. And I want to share with you 3 things about the divine delay of God. So here it is. Let's stand in honor of the Word of God. If you could stand today, if you feel like it. If you don't, that's fine. You can remain seated. But here we go. Dear friends, don't let this one thing escape you. With the Lord, one day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like one day. The Lord does not delay His promise, as some understand delay, but is patient with you, not wanting any to perish, but all to come to repentance. You may be seated. The first thing is rather obvious. The very first thing I want us to understand about God's divine delay is that God doesn't see time the way we see it. By the way, happy birthday, Miss Elaine. Happy birthday. She's 39 today. We see time kind of linear, don't we? We see it, and God made it that way. That's why we see it that way, and how it affects us. You come along and you have a birthday. When you're young, you have birthday presents. When you get older, I got another birthday. I got another birthday. I don't want another birthday. And here it comes, right? But we see these time comes along, and it moves, and we expect things, and we anticipate things, and we see things that we're expecting because it's the right time. I can tell you when the right. Did you know that there are Christmas decorations already in Hobby Lobby? And I was talking to an employee the other day, and she said, "Yep, it's time. And if you wait just a little while longer, it'll look a lot more like Christmas than it looks like today." It's certain time for things. We expect them. Here's some time facts you might want to know. The average American will spend 2 years of his life returning phone calls to people who never seem to be there. We will spend 6 months of our lives waiting for the light to turn green. Maybe this is worse. We will spend 8 months of our lives reading junk mail. How they come up with that, I don't know. Martin Luther once says, you remember Martin Luther, the guy that got complaining, 95 things to the church door at the chapel at Wittenberg, and complained and started a little thing called the Reformation. He said, "I have so much constraints we do. We think, well, I got 24 hours today, and I got to get this done. God doesn't operate on a 24-hour period. He operates on a whole different ball of wax. If you were in VBS this week, you learned that God created time and He is beyond time. But then we spend hours in prayer. Our hearts are broken. We ache. We beg God to speak. We beg God to move. We beg God to do something, and He remains quiet. I'm going to let you in a little professional secret. You may not know. But tomorrow morning, there will be a whole bunch of guys in my job that want to resign across the United States. Some of them will even write their letters of resignation. And they will weep and they will ache. They will think, you know, Lord, I preached the most powerful sermon I have ever preached in my life. And they all made decisions at the end of the service to get up and go have lunch. Nothing happened. You plan and you pray and you work and you put yourself into it. But then by Monday afternoon, God gets a hold of your heart and you put on your big boy pants and you go back and deal with it and get back to work. And a very small minority actually follow through with that desire to resign on Monday morning. Maybe we need to start Mondays reading 2 Peter 2:8. Excuse me, 3:8. Don't let this one thing escape you. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. Do you think Peter wanted us to understand this? He says, if you're going to get nothing else out of what I'm writing, don't miss this one thing. It's hard for us to grasp. God doesn't operate on our time schedule, and God doesn't do things when we think He ought to. God operates, it's always at the right time. So I've always heard it said, God is never late and He never hurries. Somehow we have got to stop asking God, are we there yet? Because the answer is often going to be similar to the one I gave my children. My child, we are closer than we were the last time you asked, but we are not there yet. And somehow I think we need to incorporate this into our faith. The second thing I want us to understand this morning, and I think Peter wanted to tell us, is to reinforce this thought. He tells us that not only does God not operate on time the way we do, that God doesn't delay His actions in the same way that we understand delay. I think one translation said, God is not slow as some of us understand slowness. When I was a little boy, my sister would cringe if I was going to tell you, my sister had her own time zone. My mother would stand at the door and say, Rhonda, and my sister would maybe not have her shoes on. It's time to go. It's time to be somewhere. And we were always late to Sunday school in church, and the Sunday school director used to stand by the Sunday school office at the bottom of the hill where we parked, and when we got there, he would ring the bell that started Sunday school, knowing that if anybody else was coming, they were already there because the Reynolds family was finally there. My sister lived in her own, and when she started to eat, she would take everything on her plate, and she would make sure none of it was touching. And then she would cut it all up and eat one thing at a time. And we would all be done, ready to go. Time for Sunday afternoon now, and my sister would be on the third thing she was going to eat that day, and my mother would go, that's it, we're gone. And, that was it. God is not slow the way some of us think slowness is. God operates at a different perspective. When sin came into the universe, and Adam and Eve sinned, as I've told you before, it infected everything. That's why there are natural disasters. That's why there are plagues. That's why there are illnesses that cannot be cured this side of heaven. But immediately after sin came, what did God do? He promised deliverance. Now let's get some perspective here. Genesis chapter 3 is where the promise of deliverance came. We don't know how far back that was. There is no time given between the time God finished creation on the 6th day and Adam and Eve sinned. We have no idea how long in between that was. It could have been a couple of days. It could have been 10,000 years. It could have been 1,000,000 years. We have no idea. And really, before Genesis 11, we really have trouble dating things because that's kind of back before any records were kept or anybody. We just have trouble dating it. So, from that point to about 5 BC, which is about 5 years before the birth of Christ, because Jesus was born about 5 years before he was supposed to be, according to the way we do calendars. Not according to God. But anyway, that was a long time. And every law, every rule, I don't care if it was about mold or how to fix roast beef, everything, every story, every list, everything in the Old Testament was about Jesus. It was to get us ready for Him. It was to prepare us for Him. It was all about Jesus, which is why you read the Old Testament forward and interpret it in light of the New. That was a long, long time. By the way, all during the Old Testament, salvation was attainable the same way it is today. By faith. All of them looking forward to the resurrection of Christ. God does not delay in the way we understand it. For God's answer is always right when He knows it needs to appear. But then there was a curious phrase in the passage. But God is patient with us. And I want to look at Him and say, patient with me? Are you kidding? I have been waiting for 60 years for you to do something, and you haven't done it yet. But then God comes, if He wanted to, He could come and say, well, I remember this time you did this, you did this. And as far as I can tell, you're still drawing breath. There was this time you said that, and you said that, and your mama don't know it. If she did, you wouldn't be alive today. There was time when you did this, and there was time when you did that. There's an old Jewish rabbinical story that's told of one day Abraham was sitting out in front of his tent late evening, and an elderly man came by. And Abraham, being in the Middle East culture that he was, he went out and greeted the man and said, do you have a place to stay tonight? No, well, you're welcome in my tent. Took him in, gave him a foot bath, bathed his feet, put on him a clean robe, and set a meal before him, and the guy just started eating. And Abraham said, don't you ask a blessing on the food before you eat? And don't you worship God? And the old man said, I worship fire as the only God I worship, and I countenance no others. Abraham said, you mean you don't worship God? Well, he just grabbed him by his throat, ripped his new robe off of him, and threw him out of the tent. A little while later, God came to Abraham and said, Abraham, where's that old man that came by? And Abraham said, listen, God, he doesn't worship you, and I don't even want any part of him. And God said, I've been putting up with him for 80 years, and he insults me every day. Can't you put up with him for one night? God calls on us to trust Him, even when we have, in our opinion, little reason to. Because He always answers when the time is right. God is patient with us for a reason. And the third thing that I want us to see today, God does not view time the way we view it. God does not delay in keeping His promises. Here's the kicker. In the latter part of verse 9, He says, He doesn't want anyone to perish. That means that every day He delays is another opportunity for someone to be saved. I've not been in, when I was in high school in the 70s, early 70s, Everybody was reading Hal Lindsey, and everybody was reading The End of Time, and everybody was reading all this stuff, and I'm telling you, oh, we all thought Jesus was going to come back before it got to be 1980. Had to, you know, the world was going to fall apart, everything was going to end. Oh my God. Well, about 1980, I got kind of over that. Actually, before then, I got kind of over that. But I always view Revelation really as a joy to see what God's got planned for us, not some big end of the world scheme. If you pay attention, it's really more about what God has in store for us in heaven. But have you ever been where you wanted to just say, Lord, come right now? You had enough of this nonsense. In our world today, in the corporate world that most of us live in and work in, if you're not your own boss, here's what happens. 1 week, you work 900 hours, you just go and blow it, and you leave the company. By the time that week is over, you have made the company $1 million. You have just done it. And the next week, you kind of in the glow of that, and they come to you and say, well, great, you were leading the company last week, what have you done for us lately? Isn't that how it is? What have you done for us lately? You say, but I made you $1 million last week. Yeah, that was last week. What are you doing today? I've lived in that corporate world, and you would think in a Christian corporate world it wouldn't be that way, but it's worse. And what's even worse is when you work for a denominational agency, it even gets worse. Well, how much did you raise today? History might want to teach us a little bit. William Carey spent 7 years in India as a missionary before he saw his first convert. Adoniram Judson preached in Burma for 7 years before he saw his first salvation. Missionaries working in Western Africa were there 14 years before one single solitary soul was added to the church. In New Zealand, it took 9 years and the deaths of several missionaries before one was saved. In Tahiti, it was 16 years. So this divine delay thing is not merely academic, it's a reality. It happens. That doesn't mean God wasn't working and convicting those people. That just means it took that long for them to listen to Him. But there's a scene from the life of Jesus I really think that illustrates this the most. And it's from the 9th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus is walking along, and I want to read part of it. It says, as Jesus was passing by, he saw a man born blind from birth. His disciples questioned him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Back in that day, they believed that if you were born sick with lame legs or blind or hearing or a deformed hand or something, then that was because of some sin your parents had done. Or sometimes there was even a rabbinical teaching that you might have sinned in the womb that caused that. And I'm kind of going like, I'm not sure how you do that, but okay. But anyway, and that was the reason for the question, who sinned? So Jesus comes by the guy is left, he's begging, and don't think his parents didn't pray for him. We're told that they probably weren't very wealthy, but I can't imagine in that day, in that culture, that they didn't pray for him for years, and now he's an adult and they can't care for him, so his only recourse is to beg at the temple, wherever he was. He was begging. And Jesus comes up to him and talks to him a minute, and then he reaches down and gets some dirt, spits on it, makes mud, puts it on his eyes, and he says, go to the pool of Siloam and wash your eyes. And the guy was seeing, then he saw. And here's the goofy thing. It was on the Sabbath that he did this. And the Pharisees went nuts. And their big argument was that he did it on the Sabbath. And I'm going like, hey, the guy was born blind. He's now seeing. Hello? Wake up. And they missed it. They never even, in fact, there was it. That's not him. That can't possibly be him. Go get his mom and daddy. We know them. They live down the road. Go get them and ask them. Yeah, that's him. All right. No, it couldn't possibly be him. No. And then they tried to get the guy to say that Jesus was a sinner because he did it on the Sabbath. And the guy says, well, I don't know him before. Never heard of him before. Never saw him before. I haven't seen anything before today. I don't know who he is, but all I know is before he came John tells us why. Jesus answered the question. This man was born that way, so that this day, right now, today, you could see the glory of God in his life. Wow. Sometimes that's how it is. I don't think it's that way with everything, but it's certainly that way with a lot of things. You think about it, that guy was a long time. Everything was black. He was told it was color. Think about it. If you can't see that everything has taste, smell, and touch, that's all you got. And you're bumping into things and you're hitting things and you got to have somebody help you and you can't get around. What a joy it must have been at that moment when he washed that mud out of his eyes and he could see. But whatever you do, don't miss that last part of verse 9 in chapter 2 Peter chapter 3. Don't miss it. Because that means that there's still time for your parents, for your brother, your sister, your friend, your husband, your kids, your neighbors. There's still an opportunity. God has delayed. Not for the purpose of wasting your time, but he has delayed so that no one will perish. You know, sometimes God answers prayers right away. That's kind of spooky when he does that. Sometimes the answer is no. I mean, flat out no. Like when you go to your dad, and say, Dad, I need the keys to the car. I have a date. I'm sorry, son. You'll have to walk. Why? Well, I have to have the car tonight. But Dad, I have a date. I'm sorry. Answer's no. It wasn't quick. Dad didn't think about it. He didn't talk about it. He didn't have to pray about it. He just said no. Sometimes God does that. And sometimes God answers yes. And boom, there it is. I mean, it's an amazing thing when God does that. And sometimes God seems to say, take a number. Just wait. I heard you. Have you ever prayed for something over and over again? Sometimes I get the idea God says, Mike, I heard you the first 1,700 times you asked me. I'm bad about that. God waits. Ezekiel 18:23 tells us that God takes no pleasure in the death of the wicked. You ever thought somebody, I hope they get theirs. Well, in judgment they probably will, but God takes no pleasure in it, no delight in it. In 1 Timothy chapter 2:4, reinforcing what Peter said, he said he wants everyone to come to eternal life. Not everyone will, but every day God delays is another opportunity. Every week, there's a group of people I have created a group on Facebook for. I don't know if they realize this or not, but I made a group. And every week on Saturday, I sit back there in that chair and I send those people a message. Every now and then, one of them will show up. I week in, week out. A lot of times I tell them what the Sunday school lesson's about. A lot of times I tell them what the sermon's about. A lot of times I just tell them I've missed them and I'd love to see them. Or sometimes I tell them, hey, I'm kind of depressed and your face would make my day a lot better tomorrow. Nothing seems to work all the time. But I'm going to keep sending the message every Saturday. Sometimes that's how God is with us. He just keeps sending the message. You wait, and I'll respond when the time is right for you. I have to tell you, though, waiting on God is hard work. It's tough work. And it's like I said earlier, it's like wind carving stone, and if you know anything about that, it takes a while. But there are 4 things I want to suggest to you to do, and I'm going to be through. 4 things. First of all, believe that God who saved you hears your prayers. Believe that He hears, because He does. Number 2, put your hope in God's Word, for that's where the truth lies. If you want to know what God's going to do or what He said, it's right there. All you have to do is open it. 3rd, trust the Lord and not your own understanding, because your understanding in your spirit. when it all boils down to eternity. It just isn't worth the time it takes to think about it. And number 4, for heaven's sake, and your own, do not head off on your own instead of waiting for God's answers. Don't run off and try to do your own thing. That's my big sin right there. I want to I got to do something. And I think I have to go do something. Whatever you do, Peter says, don't miss this one thing. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. When God delays, it is for us so that we will see the glory of God. Let's pray. Father, you are so good to us. We get discouraged when we pray and you don't see the answer. What we don't understand is we don't deserve your answer. But you make us worthy because you love us and you answer. Father, sometimes it's a struggle to wait on you. Help us to be patient with you as you are infinitely patient with us. And Father, may we be faithful to trust you, even when we cannot see 2 feet in front of us. May we trust you, not because we have blind faith, but because you have always been truthful with us before. You have never lied to us. You've never been dishonest. You have always told us the truth. And we can trust you for the truth now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let me ask you a question. Do you have an unanswered prayer this morning? Or do you think it's unanswered? You've asked God, you figure there must be, if there's a ledger in heaven writing down, Mike Reynolds prayed today. It's 1,300 hours, and he prayed for this and that and this and that. And if you go back and look through the days, you'll find that that prayer has been on the books every day for, like 14 years. You have one of those? Maybe it's not that long, but maybe it's old. Why don't you come today and let's take it together to God and lay it on the altar and give it to Him. Is God waiting on you? Is He calling you to join us? Whatever the case may be. We're going to sing an old camp meeting favorite. I have decided to follow Jesus. Boy, how many remember singing that at camp? I have decided to follow Jesus. Stand with me as we sing, Come as the Lord leads you. We'll wait for you. Come if you need to know Christ. We'll wait.
I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus.
Y'all need to be seated for just a second. I know that it's a little late, and I'm sorry, but when the music minister gets me in the pulpit late, I just, can't help it. Poor Rick. He's so poor.
Deal.
I want y'all to know that I'm going to present to you Blake McCrae. Did I say your name right? McCrae? Okay. Blake made a decision for Christ this week during Bible school, and he's kind of shy. He's quiet. I've never seen a teenager this quiet before. Is he this quiet all the time? Wow. Well, Blake, would you come stand up here next to me with Hagen? If I make him stand up here with you? Okay, come stand up here. Blake comes this morning on public profession of faith and desires membership by baptism. I have not talked to his parents yet, but I will do that this week, and we'll be letting you know when baptism is going to happen. Okay? Now, these folks are going to want to come by and shake your hand. Some of the ladies may even hug you, so you just have to get over that. Okay? You heard he told me a while ago, deal with it. It'll be all right. I promise none of them will bite you. Well, that one over there, that one back there might bite you at a time.
And then Joseph invited him to church this week.
Joseph invited him to church. All right. But if you rejoice in his decision, would you stand and say amen? Amen. All right. Terry is our deacon of the week. Come back tonight at 6 o'clock. Bring some watermelon and have a good time. So, well, I don't like to get out. It'll be daylight when you go home. It will be daylight before you get home. It'll be daylight till 9 o'clock.
Please come back.
Please come. All right. Come by and shake Blake's hand and welcome him into the family of God. And Terry, lead us as we pray.
Father, thank you so much for this one that's joined our family here, and we pray that you'll bless him. And our church congregation is as we help him, and pray, Father, also for all of you. We just thank you so much that you have grown. Thank you for Michelle, and thank you for Hayden, and the way that what they're doing. And we just pray that you continue to bless them. And help us now as we go out and bring us back to witnessing this evening. In Jesus' name.
I love to sing your praise, Lord. I love to tell your name. If you're with me, watch over me, like a sweet in the rain. I love to sing your praise, Lord. Bring me victory. That's what I sing through all of my days. I love to sing your praise.
Dad later this evening, later this evening.
Oh, your kids got away from you today, didn't they?